Welcome to Pocket Vision Fantasy Football, where we bring you a full field view on everything fantasy and sports betting. I'm Jason Martin, and each week we're breaking down some of the biggest headlines, going off on the biggest raves and stories, and calling out the best bets, especially in the Thursday night football game. And we're going to pinpoint the stars and busts this week for your fantasy lineup. So if you want to win, if you like bold takes, and if you want to take your game to the next level, then you're in the right place. I got it. So hit subscribe and gear up as we take your fantasy game to the top of the Crystal Ball Palace.
Let's go. Let's go. That was great.
Let's freaking do it, everybody.
Start us off, Jason.
Start us off. We got the Week 9 preview show right here. And we're going to go ahead and we want to talk about what's on the docket. And let's go ahead and kick it off with one of the biggest celebrations, National Tight Ends Day, and Kyle Pitts doing his dizzle.
Yeah, if you watched at least 30 seconds of football on Sunday, you would know that Sunday was National Tight Ends Day. And nobody celebrated better than Kyle Pitts. 2 touchdowns, 91 yards, single-handedly won me some leagues, and really excited about his performance. Beginning of the season, I was telling everybody to pick Kyle Pitts or their fantasy team, and 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season, he was under 30 yards receiving. But since then, last week, 91 yards, 65, 70, and 88 before that. Last 4 games of the year projects onto a pace of over 1,300 yards for the season. That's the guy I was wanting to draft when I was drafting him, and that's the guy who can win you leagues. So I'm super excited to see this type of performance from Kyle Pitts. Now, every week's not going to be National Tight End Day, but he does have the Dallas Cowboys next week, so I think he's going to keep it rolling.
I think you're right. I think there's no way he doesn't keep it rolling against Dallas. I mean, they've suffered some brutal defeats, but I think him and Cousins are finally in sync, and it's cool to see what that offense is doing with a proper quarterback. Hell yeah, brother!
Yeah.
Let's wake the freak up.
I'm really happy with what I've seen out of Joe Mixon. After week, a guy that I drafted a lot in my fantasy leagues this season, and after week 1, I was pumped, and then week 2, he didn't trade, he got injured, left the game halfway through, and then he missed a few games. And while he was out, his backups looked terrible, and I just kind of in my mind, I just kind of threw in the towel. I was thinking like, man, like maybe Houston just isn't going to be any good this year. And now, since he's been back, he's had over 100 yards each game and at least 1 touchdown. And that's actually true for all 4 full games he's played this season. He has over 100 yards, and he's averaging 1.25 touchdowns per game with at least 1 touchdown. I'm just really happy with what I've seen out of Joe Mixon lately.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, too, with the injury to Stephon Diggs, how the offense changes. Maybe he even gets more usage going forward, because I don't think Nico Collins is going to be back tomorrow night. So that offense is going to have to run through Joe Mixon, or keep running through Joe Mixon, I should say.
I do agree, although I'm a little concerned that the offense as a whole is just going to take a step back.
That's true as well.
And Zach, I like your shirt, leading to one of the most exciting games from last week, where I was pounding the table for Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams this entire offseason. I was so happy to see Jaden Daniels beat Caleb Williams in a Hail Mary. Throws it deep, touches the defender. Noah Brown catches it, touchdown, wins the game. It was great to see that. Caleb Williams with 10.34 DraftKings points and Jaden Daniels over 25 DraftKings points. So it's good to see the points work as well as the victory. That performance pretty much secures Jaden Daniels as the rookie MVP, does it not? Or does it?
Yeah,
boost his ranking at potentially the MVP of the entire league at this point. Jaden Daniels is him, boys. But let's see what Michael Deacon, the resident Bear fan, has to say about Caleb Williams looking ridiculously pissed off after that loss.
Our resident Bears fan, yeah.
Yeah, coming to you from California.
Looks like
Yeah,
you're
so
wearing a
it's
different jersey there, Michael.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a game that might have made Bears fans question their fandom and possibly convert to a different team. But for me, you can't quite take the blue and orange out of these veins. Um, that the Bears defense played well pretty much most of the game. Only allowing 12 points.
So here you
Before,
He's
like,
gotten hit throughout the rest of the game.
area
It's
at the
hurting
end, as
more
you can
now.
see on the screen. I mean, there were some shades of like the double doink for some Bears fans from 6 years ago. So just another heartbreaker that Bears fans have become accustomed to.
I mean,
But
Deacon,
there are
how do you live with yourself having to see this year in year out? You know.
I mean, it's just hope. Just the hope that kills you. You just like keep on clinging to it.
It looks like
Um,
he just converts. He just puts on a Washington jersey and then he's good.
and that's it, right? Yeah. I
Hey,
mean, I could take the
come
jersey
join the
off,
bandwagon.
right?
The Commanders franchise is on the rise. I mean, Jaden Daniels is the next big thing. So just come on. There's plenty of room. But the train's leaving the station.
Yeah, it could very well be. I'm still going to ride out this Bears team. They have a couple favorable matchups coming up in the next 2 weeks. They're playing like Arizona next week. Arizona still has the fourth most points allowed in the NFC, and they're playing the Bears. I think that's in Arizona, so a little bit warmer weather. So maybe it's better passing for Caleb. As you said, Caleb looked pretty fired up on the sideline, so I think he's going to be determined to come back with a vengeance and prove his worth over Jaden Daniels as the number one overall pick. Um, and then the week after that, they're
I think
playing New
that ship
England.
sailed, but yeah.
Yeah, they got the Patriots after that. That's a winnable game.
Yeah, Patriots after that, and then 3 divisional matchups after that. The first 2 in Chicago, so at least that's a little bit of an advantage. So
Yeah, I mean it's a tough
wouldn't
loss. I don't think that the Bears aren't done by any means. I mean, that's
absolutely not.
one of a terrible loss, but I think I think they can bounce back.
And the defense looked great. I mean, the whole Jaden Daniels that touchdown to the very end of the game, that's not easy to do.
Yeah, like they still have the best defense in the NFC, lowest points allowed.
It was definitely a tough loss for your team, but let's talk about my team, the Colts. There's some big news in that department. Anthony Richardson officially benched. Shan Steichen comes out and says Joe Flacco is the starter. What do you think about that moving forward? Zach, what's your opinion on that?
Well, last week we talked about how Tua came back from injury, and that opened up everything for all the other players on that offense. Well, that's the same thing with the Colts, with Joe Flacco coming in for Anthony Richardson. Now, all of a sudden, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, all these guys are going to be startable in fantasy instead of just guys that take up space on your bench.
I agree completely. I mean, the Anthony Richardson experiment makes the entire team like a wasteland. All the receivers, even the defensive players, their chances of winning games are just not as good with Joe Flacco at quarterback. But having Anthony Richardson on your team, that's what it is. It's the experiment. When they drafted this guy, they didn't know if he could pass the ball. He wasn't a good passer. He wasn't even a top pick coming into the combine, but he just was off the charts in the metrics department, got him drafted high, and now they're trying to see if he can pass the ball. And we've seen him be able to throw the deep ball. He's been able to do it, but he can't make the layups. He can't make those easy completions. I do think that he will get another chance, and I'm hopeful that he will learn to pass the ball a little bit better than he's currently in. I think he's at 44% completion percentage so far this year. John Elway was drafted by the Colts, 47.5% completion, and the Colts got rid of him, and then he went on to become one of the greatest quarterbacks. So hopefully we see something down the line of that.
Yeah, Zach, what are you thinking there about that John Elway comment?
Well, John Elway never actually played for the Colts. I just wanted to be clear about that. His completion percentage was on the Broncos from the very get-go. But, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that he struggled out of the gate. I think teams aren't patient enough with quarterbacks. We've seen guys struggle early on. They move around team to team, and then all of a sudden, they Geno Smith or Sam Darnold looks pretty good this year. Jameis Winston, maybe he's something now. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
So Anthony Richardson's career is not over, but this is definitely a pretty big bump in the road.
Remember, he is 22, and
Yeah,
he's got time.
Yeah, as
Marty?
a Colts fan, I really wanted to see Anthony Richardson succeed, but also for this season, like I'm now excited to see what Joe Flacco has for the season. I mean, the Colts could still make the playoffs. They've with Richardson or with Flacco, they've been a competitive team. They had no one on one session game during any of their losses this season, and Joe Flacco just looked in season, and he looked great with the Browns last year. So I'm just really excited for this season. And then also, I agree with Eric. I don't think the Colts, I think we're going to see AR again, even in a Colts uniform. And probably it depends on how things go, but it can be nice to lose some games and the playoffs are out of reach. We're going to see AR come back in. There's not really a point in having old man Flacco at that point, even if he is having good games.
Can Joe Flacco win the comeback player of the year twice, or is that not possible?
Come back and then come back again.
Yeah,
he won it last year. You'd have
to
to at least take a gap between comeback player years. You can't come back and then come back again because you're already there.
I mean, you're the backup quarterback. I mean, you come in and you get into the playoffs. I'd vote for him.
The Colts were the only team in the NFL that offered him a contract. Nobody else wanted him, and the Colts gave him a backup job. I think that's comeback eligible.
Let's talk about one other thing that happened. Anthony Richardson was in the game and took himself out of the game. Afterwards, at the press conference, says, "Hey, what's the deal? Why'd you take yourself out of the game?" And he said, "I'm not going to lie. I'm tired." What do you guys think about a quarterback taking himself out of the game, or yet alone any player taking themselves out of the game in that kind of position?
It's not a good look.
Is that why he got benched, or is it his play in general?
That was the play as well. I want to bring up.
It didn't help.
It was an important play.
But I think this had a lot going into it. So.
And there's other rushing quarterbacks, Michael Vick. I mean, there's other quarterbacks, and I can't remember a single instance where one of those rushing quarterbacks, had a run for 30, 40 yards horizontally, vertically, wherever they ran and said, "Yeah, I'm going to take a break." We've seen it with running backs, maybe a little bit, but not a quarterback, not the leader of the entire team.
I do think Donovan McNabb had some sort of incident where he threw up in the huddle or something like that. But
did he leave the game or he stayed in the huddle?
He did not leave the game, so I guess that gets him out of it.
And we saw a play.
AR is in his early 20s. I mean, like he just doesn't. I think that if he's still in the NFL in 10 years, no matter how tired he is, he's never going to take himself out of the game.
And I think,
experience.
Speaking of throwing up on the ball, I think Carolina's maybe their center threw up on the ball. Oh no, it was Green Bay. Green Bay center threw up on the ball, gave it to the quarterback, and they're like, "Why didn't you throw it?" He's like, "He threw up all over the ball."
I missed that somehow.
That was great. His coach stayed in though, right? Like, why didn't you throw it? And he said there was puke all over the ball. Oh
okay,
man,
I got it.
Oh, he's got it. Jason's on it. Pulls it up.
I think
pulls it up.
Center. When does it happen though?
No, we got to watch the whole game on
Is this it? I don't know where it was. Here it is. This has got to be it. Watch it. Oh,
yeah, that's it right there. Puke's on the ball.
And then they asked.
And he hikes it. He just hikes it.
What do you think that nose tackle on the Colts is thinking when that happens? Like he has been like laughing.
Probably just like no way.
Watch, here it is. And then watch Willis. I think Willis gets in trouble for like not passing the ball or something.
Or no, he handed it off.
I think it was an RPO.
Throw it.
I think it was an RPO. He was supposed to throw it, and LaFleur's like, "Why did you do that?" And he's like, "I never threw the ball with puke on it before. I didn't want to do it."
Yeah, the
but still, you're risking a fumble.
Okay.
Like
all right, but let's go on, guys. Let's hit let's hit the Texans. We got a story with the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans, Stephon Diggs tears his ACL out for the season. How is that going to affect how the Texans go moving forward, especially with Nico Collins hurt? But Nico Collins should be back here soon. What do you guys think the Texans need to do now?
Well, I think Tank Dell's about to get himself a load of targets, something that's been lacking this season so far. A lot was made out of the connection between Tank Dell and why am I blanking on CJ Stroud's the connection between Dell and Stroud,
Yeah,
and
last
that
year,
actually
yeah.
scared me off of Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs this year. So I think we're going to get to see a lot more of that.
And I think CJ Stroud, they said build your dream team, and he put Tank Dell on his dream team. So I know he likes Tank Dell.
So I guess obviously Diggs and Nico were on there too because he was really passing it to them and Tank.
Well,
I drafted Tank and Tank was like no, he wasn't getting snaps.
I don't think
Maybe
either of those were on his dream team.
Couldn't get
Go
on the
ahead.
field.
But I will say also wheels up for Dalton Schultz. I think he's going to get more targets now. But definitely wheels up for Tank Dell. I think both those guys have a great outcome, especially with Marty Guys, Joe Mixon. Those are going to be the trio that's seeing a lot of work this year for the rest of the season until Nico comes back.
Deacon, what do you think? You want to play devil's advocate? Is it worth a trade, Deacon?
I don't think so. I mean, I kind of like that connection between Dell and Stroud. So I would say just let it ride, you know?
No, I think you're right. I think just let it rip.
Given what the Ravens paid for Deontay Johnson, though, I mean, if you can get a deal like that, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Well, I think that if Nico was going to be out for the rest of the season, would make a trade. But like you're going to have Nico come back, and you're going to have Tank Dell. Like you can, that's pretty good.
This is football.
You don't need to replace Diggs.
This is football. There could be more injuries, so you need depth. And if you could pick up something like Deontay Johnson deal, where you get a prime candidate for the low, yes, but no, I don't think they need to sell their farm to bring in a hotshot player.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the one player that I think teams should be looking at is Naylor over at the Vikings. I think he's playing really well with his limited touches, and he's actually blocking pretty good too. So I just think he could help out a team, and they just underutilize him there. But I don't know what kind of deal you'd have to make to get him. But
would the Vikings trade him if he's?
I mean, the thing is, yeah. I mean, I think the Vikings. I mean, they would only make a trade if it worked well for them. Maybe they get a defensive piece that helps them. I just think they're not using him right now as much as they could be, or other teams could. So it would just make sense that you could.
Gotcha.
Pay him, but I get what Eric's saying with depth. I mean, you don't want. I mean, they could use him if anyone gets hurt. They could use him. I want to give a shout out to our boy Zach Strickland. Last week he picked Tillman with plus 70 yards. Look at this, plus 500. And everyone, he had 99 yards. I mean, what a day! When he made the bet last week, I think all of us were like, "That is a good bet. Winston's going to get the ball out, not like Watson and take a bath." But so kudos everybody, especially
Zach's making some people some money. And
in defense, I would go ahead, Zach.
I say to quote Kevin Malone, "It feels good to win one."
Great,
I love it. And
I have extra money there.
The thing is, last week I think Eric and Marcus both had Cup, but I mean, it's just once Puka came in, it screwed the whole thing up. So, anyways, fantastic. Let's get into the Thursday best bets, everybody. Starting with your boy, Eric Martin.
Yeah, we talked about the Texans and what the passing game is going to look like over there. So I'm going to take Tank Dell over 4.5 catches with Dalton Schultz over 4.5 catches, both of them for plus 240 money. I see both of them getting at least 8 targets in this game. So I'll take the over on both those catches and make some money there and move on to the next one. Marty, what do you think for your best bet on this Thursday's game?
I've got under 42 total points scored. Like that's the actual line. So you're not making a whole lot of money there. You're just going to basically double up. But I just think that without injuries to Houston run it a ton against a pretty good Jets defense anyway. And then the Jets, I also think are going to be running it a lot. And I just think that's going to result in a scoring game.
Yeah, that game might be under 42 points, but some of the points that are scored are going to be by Devontae Adams scoring a touchdown of plus 140. Just to give you some numbers on Devontae Adams and his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. From 2016 to 2021 in Green Bay, Devontae Adams played 87 games. Keep in mind, not all of those were with Rodgers. And he scored 69 touchdowns. That's about 0.8 touchdowns per game. At plus 140, you need less than a 50% chance of Adams to score a touchdown and still make that a good bet. So probably around a 40% chance. So to me, the chemistry that Rodgers and Adams have, he knows how to get the ball to Adams in a short, tight window down near the goal line. I think that's going to happen tomorrow night.
And they've got a little more time practicing. They got a little more time together. So I think that's a good bet right there, Zach. And Zach's bet paid off last week. So put $1,000 on that, everybody. Make some money.
Yeah.
I don't know about
that. I think I'm going to take devil's advocate here, and I'm going with the Texans over the Jets. I think they're going to beat the spread. I like last week, like I wasn't really super impressed with Rodgers and Adams, and as we discussed with Stroud and Dell and Collins coming back, I think this Texans offense is just going to let it rip. So I'm going all Texans tomorrow.
And now I want to toss it over to a special segment where Zach is going to give us the mid-season future parlay.
So we're about halfway through the NFL season. I want to take a look at some of the end-of-year awards and what we can bet on here to our advantage. I'm going to give you three picks, and we're going to parlay them together to turn $100 into over $20,000. All right, first up, Lamar Jackson, MVP at plus 310. Off to an exciting year for Lamar. Ravens were one of the best teams in the league. That is one of the more favored lines, but I still like it. Next up, we have Dan Quinn to win head coach of the year. Takes a team that had the second overall pick. They were that bad. Turns them into potentially the division winner and beyond. I think that's a strong candidate, plus 210. And then finally, the pick that really bumps the overall odds on this parlay is Aaron Rodgers to win comeback player of the year. Now, currently, the favored choice here is Kirk Cousins, like plus 150. Rodgers is sitting at plus 1,500. I do think that it's, Kirk Cousins' award to lose right now, or maybe Joe Flacco's. But if the Jets can string together some wins, sneak into the playoffs, I think Rodgers is going to take that home. So is this likely going to happen? Probably not. But those odds, give it to me.
Hey, we're in it for the green, the Benjamins, the C notes, the $20,236. I know Eric's
just take a small
bet.
portion of that Cedric Tillman profit, parlay it on here, and see what happens.
That's a good parlay. That's a good parlay. Try to make a big score. That's a very Costanza move. I like it. And I think you have a bonus bet for us, Zach?
I do indeed. Now this one's on the parlay was on FanDuel. I forgot to mention this futures bet here. The Niners Super Bowl win is on DraftKings at plus 1,100. That's actually only plus 750 on FanDuel. So you're getting some good odds. I just think the 49ers, we have not seen them at their best. I think they're still the number 2 team in the NFC. They're currently 4-4, so you're getting a little bit longer odds than you normally get. So great opportunity to 11 extra money there.
No, yeah, amazing. Let's move on to Crystal Ball Bus.
Yeah, my crystal ball bust of the week is Zay Flowers. He's been pretty good up to this point, but I see Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos shutting him down, at least holding him below what he needs to hit this week. Patrick Surtain should follow him for the most point. He's already shut down pretty much held down DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Mike Evans, and Garrett Wilson. So there's a lot of options for the Baltimore Ravens. So I see them looking for their other options rather than force the ball to who Patrick Surtain's guarding, which is Zay Flowers. Patrick Surtain already has 3 picks this year. We don't want him to get a 4th, so just don't throw the ball to Zay Flowers and keep Zay Flowers out of your lineups. He will be my bust of the week.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take a different Ravens wide receiver, one that's new to the team, and that's Deontay Johnson. He's currently ranked number 33 wide receiver on ESPN's PPR wide receiver rankings. So that puts him in a fringe starter. I'm saying do not start Deontay Johnson. He's just new to the team. Look at Amari Cooper from a couple of weeks ago on the Bills. He had a good game, but he only played 35% of the snaps, and then we saw him have a much worse game this past week. DeAndre Hopkins this past week only played 32% of the snaps for the Chiefs. So usually when a receiver comes in middle of the week like this, you're just not going to get the usage that you normally would. And then combine that with a tough matchup against the Broncos. And I don't know that Surtain's going to shadow Zay Flowers. They move Zay Flowers around a lot and find creative ways to give him the ball. So Surtain might find himself on Deontay Johnson for the 40% snaps that he's in the game. So overall, wouldn't play Deontay Johnson unless I had to.
Sweet. And I think, Marty, you're in agreement there?
Yes, I have Deontay as well. You may feel like we're robbing you of a bust pick here, but just instead take this as a double whammy on Deontay Johnson. I mean, just like don't start him no matter what. I mean, go to free agents.
I think it looks more like a high school kid cheating on a project, but don't start him.
Just to give you,
I did not see the pick when I made mine.
Just to throw out a couple names that are currently ranked lower than Deontay Johnson would be like Cedric Tillman. I know is one of them, and and with that, Marty.
So that's easy, Tillman. I'm going to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Easy Tillman. There are a few others that escape my mind, but he stood out to me as someone who's definitely ranked too high. So maybe if I had to start 5 wide receivers, he'd slip in or something like that.
And Deacon, I think you have a bust for us as well.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say it, because I am a Nick Chubb fan. In most leagues, it seems like Nick Chubb is projected for like 11 or 12 points. That seems a little bit high for me, considering he's still coming off of injury. His first game back, he scored a touchdown. Then he ran like 11 attempts, 22 yards, and then 16 for 52 last game. The Chargers defense is kind of stingy against the run. So to me, 12 points seems a little high. I think it's going to be very touchdown dependent. So I would probably err on the side of caution. Depends on who else you have to start over him.
No, I'm with you. That's Chargers D is something you don't want to go up against.
I like it, Deacon. Deontay Johnson and Nick Chubb. I see both you guys want to see it happen before you put these guys in your starting lineup because they're both kind of fresh or on new teams. So we'll see if those guys progress into guys you want to start in the future, but they are definitely on the bust for this week. But let's talk about the crystal ball picks of the week.
Hell yeah.
We've already mentioned his name a couple times, Cedric Tillman. Now, this is a guy you could find in a lot of free agent wires. He is a starter that you want to lock in. Now, with Jameis Winston putting the shockers on the Browns and bringing this team back to life, 27 for 41. Tillman, 7 for 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 targets. Another guy that I like on the Browns is Elijah Moore, also 12 targets. Either of those guys are starters that you'd feel good about over some other people with some bye weeks happening this week. Marty, what is your crystal ball pick of the week?
Mine is Mr. Bo Nix. He has the first 4 weeks of the season, everybody thought he was terrible. And I mean, his performance was terrible. He had one interceptions.
Yeah, I will say Marty's having some issues, but Bo Nix from week 5 to week 8 has been the QB3 overall.
7 touch reception. It's
Marty, I'll tell you what, everyone, that bedroom of Zach Strickland is not good for Wi-Fi.
We got a little
Sorry,
delay
Exactly.
on you,
So-
Marty.
You're back, Marty. We got you. I think you
I'm
were
back.
just getting into it there, Mr. Bo Nix. you're
Yeah, I
back.
just wanted to say
The
the
last
last
4
4
weeks, right?
games, yeah, 7 touchdowns, only 1 pick. So it's just massive improvement. And this week he gets to go up against a Baltimore Ravens team that's dead last in yards allowed passing. I mean, they're the ultimate funnel defense. The Ravens stop the run. You can't run on them, but you can throw on them. So I love Bo Nix here.
And Bo Nix
Yeah,
from
Bo
week
Nix has
5
been
to week
impressive.
8. Week 5 to week 8, he's been QB3 overall. So
Yeah, definitely. He has very underrated rushing upside. So for me, I'm going to pick a different quarterback as my crystal ball pick, and that is Kirk Cousins. He is the quarterback in the highest total of the week at 52 points against the Dallas Cowboys. And in the last 4 games, he has 10 passing touchdowns, including 2 games of 4 touchdowns each, both against the Bucks. Doesn't get to play the Bucks this week, but does get to play the Cowboys. Probably even better matchup. And then what I especially like is with the Cowboys, you get Dak Prescott, going back the other way. So this game definitely has shootout potential. So maybe you didn't draft Kirk Cousins as a starting quarterback, but this week I think you should. And if you do, I think you will like that.
you like that? You like that? Yes, perfect.
What are you mimicking there, Eric? I think I'm missing the reference.
Kirk
You don't know
Cousins
that you like that? You like that?
after the win comes in there and tells everybody he's the man. You like that? You like
That's it.
that?
That's Kirk Cousins'
And
catchphrase.
Jason, you can pull that up on you
Okay,
can pull that
I got
up
it.
on the
I
computer.
got it already.
Yeah, him with his chains.
You
And
like
you got to
that?
play that. You got to play the video of him walking in that locker room. It's like 8 seconds long. That third one over. That's it. You like that? You like
That game was against the Bucks, who he has torched the last few weeks. So, fun fact.
And I think Deacon, you got one for us too, right? A final bust.
Yeah, or
No, this is a crystal ball.
it's the crystal ball
Crystal
pick.
ball
Is what
pick.
I had. Yeah, my bus pick was Nick Chubb. The crystal ball. Speaking of the Bucks, I mean, like I might be kind of biased in saying that because he's on one of my teams, but I kind of like Sterling Shepard this week because as we know, like Mike Evans is out for a couple weeks, and then Chris Godwin's gonna be out for the season, so Baker Mayfield doesn't really have that many options, and I like Sterling Shepard. He's projected for 7 points this week. They're going up against the Chiefs on Monday night. And I'm guessing that game might be a shootout too because, Kansas City's 7-0, Tampa Bay's 4-4. They're hoping to win their division. And I think somebody's got to beat Kansas City. I mean, Mahomes hasn't really been playing that well. And looking ahead at their schedule, there's not really a whole lot of teams left. And I think Tampa Bay has got to be the one that, has to give them a run for their money. So, I could see Sterling Shepard, getting some looks in the end zone possibly. So I'm gonna go with him.
I'm in with Deacon. I think the Chiefs have to lose at some point.
But I don't think it's going to be
Do
this
they?
week.
I mean, nobody's
I don't
beat
think it's
them in
gonna be this
a
week.
while.
Yeah, but they're not like winning
Who's to say
teams.
they may
not
have just
get-
quit losing. They
Yeah,
gave up
they may
losing
have.
for Lent or something. I don't know.
they haven't lost since 2023.
New Year's resolution. Andy
Yeah,
Reid's
but
New
it's not
Year's
like
resolution
the
was to quit
Chiefs.
losing.
Anyway, I'm not on the Chiefs as the Super Bowl my number one. Like they're just not going out there and handily beating these teams. It's almost like they're finding a way to win, which I think is important, but it's not like clear.
That defense is just so.
Like they're not like
Yeah,
contenders.
as
Like
far
they don't
as
seem like contenders.
as far as like Hall of Fame, best ever type quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes goes, usually you don't get to pair them with a defense like what the Chiefs have right now, which is why I think that team's special.
Yeah,
I don't cannot have them atop your power rankings when they've won the last 2 Super Bowls and no one's beat them this year either. I mean they're untouchable.
I just don't. I can't explain it. I just don't. I'm not in.
I did pick the Lions to win the Super Bowl though, not the Chiefs.
So, yeah, I mean, I think at some point
it's not. But I'm just saying they're number 1 on the power ranking.
This is the NFL. Any team can beat any team, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I don't think it's going to be Baker Mayfield going to beat Patrick Mahomes. It might be a Rashad White week, it might be a Sterling Shepard week, but they're going to need some more weapons if they're going to try to beat the Chiefs this week.
You don't think Marquise Irving could do it?
Guys, all
Yeah,
this talk,
Bucky
we have
Irving.
not mentioned K. Dotton all show. And K. Dotton, awesome game he had last week.
I mean,
Another National Tight Ends Day representative.
Special right there.
Yeah, I mean, he made some people some money last week. Deacon, I know you're live from Glendale, California. Can you just give us a glimpse of what's going on there in New York?
Well, right now in California, there hasn't been any fireworks yet, but we are into the top of the 9th inning, and the Dodgers did take the lead. The score right now is 7-6. I've got the game on behind me. So yeah, we'll see if in the next half hour or so if I start hearing some fireworks. So,
Wow, Dodger Stadium. Yeah, it's gonna be lit over there in Hollywood. Ye Rustic Inn is gonna be packed.
Oh, I'm sure. Ye Rustic Inn, Red Lion Tavern, there's all the Dodger bars right there. And, I'm sure if the game's over tonight, Freddie Freeman can probably expect a World Series MVP title.
Oh, for sure.
They'll be up there decorating the Hollywood sign. Eric Martin, can you go ahead and break us down?
Appreciate all you guys for joining us. We're live every Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and smash that like button. We'll be back here next week. Let's do it, everybody.
What? Oh.